Greeting once again. Um, so today is the second day of Defect of Samsara. So mm, so the main uh, during the mind training of uh, the force of Samsara, we have to remember the root uh, verses where we have gone through the food, the place, friends, pleasure, and reach, and so on. So those are the root uh, texts of the Munro. So we have to remember that we have to keep and uh, reciting this, not like constantly, but time to time to be aware of the force, the defects, uh, the uncertainty of the samsara. Now, as we continue with the commentaries, so mm, so normally all the existence beings uh, in the Buddhist point of view uh, includes in the three uh, different state of being who is living in those kind of three stages. One is mainly known as desire realm, and one is known as form realm, and one is known as formless realm. So this uh, three kind of realm is very much uh, like general to understand uh, how many kind of realms are there. So for that, in Buddhism, as I have mentioned, there are three realms. Desire, where the beings have desire, the mind has desire. So the all being who have desire is known to be desire realm. So they are in the desire realm. And we have different realm known as form realm, where they don't have very solid desire kind of thoughts or mind creation, but they have self-awareness as a form. They have self-existence knowing, but those being is beyond having the concept or any kind of a creation of mind where there is a desire. For example, which we can relate one to. So when we sleep, till we try to see dreams, there is a gap of a time where you do exist, but there is no desire, a state where mind do exist, but no desire, not solid form of the mind, but very subtle, mainly you do exist, but there is no such as desire and so forth. So those are known to be, those are like example, but we do believe there's a realm related with that. And we do have one realm which is formless. The mind stream continues, but it is beyond self-awareness and or beyond all kind of mind's form. When I say mind form, for example, take an example as very noticeable emotions, anger, hatred, jealousy. Those are something that of very form where you can able to be aware of certain thoughts. So a state of the mind where there's formless, where almost it's like a sky, but somehow there's existence which continues. So normally the six realms basically comes from the desire realms from Buddhist point of view. And so, of course, there are many beings beyond six realms, but every being includes in three realms, which I mentioned already. So keep this in our mind. And now we will continue with the from yesterday. So in desire realms, normally we have six realms. For example, the lower three realms, if we count from the worst suffering, which is known to be hell, then hungry goes. After that, animal. And we consider the three higher realms as human, demigod, and the god. And time to time, demigod consider above human. Sometimes human is put it above demigod. So that is not a very important whether the order. So the reason why there is an order is that it's more on the comparing on the suffering. So where there is more suffering is considered more lower. Less suffering is considered as higher. Mm. So from yesterday we have gone through the hell realms and as well as hungry ghosts, and we have gone through a few with the animal realms. So as we have gone through animal realms, it's more like we can relate to because animal is more relatable and visible for the human realms. So in that way, I don't have to elaborate explanation of animal suffering. But in the precious human life, to during the precious human life mind training, we do have to contemplate on how precious human life is through being very rare. Uh, we believe hell realm and the hungry ghosts and the animal, uh, the count of the number is numerous, out of number. And the human is, compared to them, is more countable. So in a way, we can see the human race of like human species kind of thing is few among human. They are very uh, more or less those who are in spiritual and less who has the capacity to engage with the authentic dharma. So in that way, we can see the precious dharma is very precious because it's very rare. So one example which was given in during the animal realms, like a handful of sea water, although it's like the size of hand, inside there are so many beings uh, in a way, and like you can go further more than the autumn. In a way, in every autumn, countless of numbers, there is a living being there. So compare that, one of the example, and compare this with the whole ocean and the living being on the earth or under earth. So there are so many beings outnumbered and beyond our understanding. So that in a way, our human life or kind of species becomes very rare, very rare. So in that way, that is uh, a way we can see that the animal beings, like there are tremendous different species in animal realms and also many numbers, and all they go through their own suffering. So which as mentioned through yesterday. So now today we will continue with the God realms. Um, Let us continue. The gods of desire realms are so distracted by temporary pleasures that their life past without them remembering the Dharma. Mm. 7 good days before they die, the 5 omens of death appear and they see where they will be reborn in their next lives, the hells and so forth. The suffering of death and downfalls is the same as that of a fish on the hot sand. When their karma exhausted, those in the four forms realms and the formless realms regress from samadhi and eventually falls to the lower state. So here we can see that in a God realm, there are many different uh, kind of uh, like God being. For example, the one uh, is mentioned as who can able to see the omens of death, the five omens of death, those mostly comes towards the god uh, who is inside the desire realm. And there's a god above that, which is known to be form and formless. So in there, it mentioned the form realms and the formless and realms regards from the form samadhi. So that you can see, even though in the God, there is a different type of God realms, where desire, form, and formless. Mm. So when we talk about the God realms, it doesn't have to be the God who have created the universe. So that is totally different, the concept of God. So in here, the God is more different than uh, those kind of God, because in Buddhist we don't kind of, from a logical point of view, uh, we have no such as creation, because everything comes from the karma. So in a way, we can believe there is a being known as God, but it is not known as a one who created everything, because it doesn't make sense from a logical point of view. So, so the Buddhists mostly follow, except where there is a reason and there is existence and there is a answer. So through that, we gain wisdom. So in that way, we are not against, but we are more like going through the facts. So this is the difference. Mm, So, so in the God realm is known to be also a miracle, but same as the hell realms, where they don't have to go through the pain of mother. The mother doesn't have to go through the pain, and the child doesn't have to go through the procedure of any uncomfort. So basically, when the aspiration, the virtue aspiration, and the merits combines together after the death, then the effect will be born to the how to say, the land of your purity of joyfulness. So in a way, that state of yourself as a being, let's say, God, has been started. For example, when we talk about realm, it's something like uh, we, when we before formed in the mom's womb, we are kind of uh, not really formed as a human. We are like a kind of shape of a worm, which needs to be developed time by time. So let's say till we die, we go through certain changes, our mentality changes, and our stages, we go through stages where we go through being baby, and then let's say toddler, teenage, and adulthood, and then senior, and then slowly passing away. So we go through different stages. We also go through different. So it's similar like that. We transform to one another. Even in life, we go through many different stages, same as our mind go through different stages. So in certain stages, you're known to be God. In certain stages, you're known to be in hell and hungry ghosts and so forth. It's more like the stages the one can have. We have to focus more on our insight and know where we are, what kind of stage we are going through. So on the God, as there are many realms within the God, so it's like the best kind of the purest, joyful comfort one could ever imagine. It will be in the state of the God, mainly in the desire God realms, where there is no suffering, no name of suffering. There is no discomfort. Everything is very joyful. What you hear is very uh, all the good, and your mind is always in the comfort state. So when you described it that, so how do you describe? So like we describe being physically comfort, mentally comfort. So in a way, even though if you are in the very joyous state of the mind, everything will perceive as in a very great way. So the heaven realms, and whether it is ready with the clothes or what kind of things are, it always described as very beautiful. So in the painting of the god realms, you will see the goddess having a very wonderful land and so forth. So it's mainly it is the kind of the mind perceives all the virtue and the more positive sides. So in that way, when the mind stream ends with the those kind of temporary goodness, then they start to how to say decrease, or they will see the lesser good signs, the comfort signs, or the joyful signs, where it describes that when the first thing, when they downfall, when they, let's say, end their realm as God, some certain time, let's say like 7 days, as mentioned, the first thing it will be the goddess. Normally, they will see a clear, a magnificent, beautiful glowing from their body. And all the places is very joyful. And the rosary they wear, or whatever, is very comfort and beautiful because they perceive all in positive way. And from their physical appearance, like physical form, they started to perceive a good scent and whatsoever. And they started to see, let's say, another gods. And they start to be happy and more friendly, and there's no such as suffering. So in a way, everything go along with comfort and joyful way. When that kind of, when a person has, let's say a mind has have done the negative accumulation, the stream of that known as karma, even though while the time we enjoy the state of the purest positivity known as the God realm, but still we haven't cut down the stream of negative habit, which is carrying through our mind. When the positive kind of decrease, then the negative starts to, let's say, continue or show up. And that way, so they starts to see the negative kind of vision, or the negative kind of stream, where the God realms, while we are being a God or whatever, we start to see discomfortness in the end. We start to see, let's say, rosary or flower rosary. The flower started to get rot. And also, we start to feel discomfort and we start to sweat and start to see the glowing less, the light of the form seeing the less. And in a way, we feel the God realm feel discomfort and start to see more fear. And in a way, they can able to feel the sensation where they can feel that the next will be like end up being in the lower realms. So example with that, so the God realm of desire goes through in that way. And so in that way, the God start to see those, they start to perceive those kind of sign they receive. And those are mainly from the God realm, comes from the desire realms. And form and formless, those doesn't has to go through with those signs because mainly they are self-aware. They do have the self-awareness kind of presence, and some doesn't have that. And when they decrease or when they end up with that state, then they will continue what kind of karma or what kind of stream in the mind they have accumulated, so that the next life can be reborn as human or hell or hungry ghost, what kind of. So in that way, the reincarnation starts like that. Mm, So now with the demigod, mm, well, during the god realms, as it is the realm of accumulation of the virtue, which is accumulation of positive physical action, speech, and mind. So in that way, the result of this or the side of that is joy. And during the formless on the form of the goddess, it's more like the state where they are completely in a peace full state. But it is a little bit different from the samadhi, which we do meditation. So when we do meditation, and even though in meditation there are many different type of meditation, for sure. But one meditation is quite similar to the God realm of formless, where uh, we be aware during the meditation, and there's so much comfort of the mind being uh, resting, and there is no delusion or anything, where the mind we experience peace. So take that example as in the courtroom, where they are completely joy in that peace of state. So they continue. So when they start to, let's say, fall down from that realm, is similar as being completing your meditation and being awake in your daily lives, where there are so many things is going on. So they don't have to go through the stages of seeing, like say, seeing less light and so forth like that. So it's more like similar to the mind, but that is kind of resemble. And after that we have the demigods. The demigods naturally harbor a resentful inward towards the splendor of the gods and engage only in act of waging war. Their merit is weak and they dislike dharma, so they always lose the battle. Their suffering or being killed is extreme. As for the suffering in the human, yeah, so till this, so this describe the demigods. I'm not very sure. In the Greek historical history, they do have a demigod kind of myth, and so anyway, it's not only appears in Buddhist, but also the term demigod comes from many different countries' history. So anyway, in the Buddhist we have the tales of demigod, where uh, which is same near to the god realms, but the demigods are quite similar to the human. Uh, so the demigod and the god, which is quite to the same place, would be the desired god, where they have a form and desire and so forth. But the demigods has more jealousy, and so in a way, so they always get kind of in the when we go through the tales of demigod life, they are always jealous of uh, the the qualities of the god. So in a way, they always get jealous with that, and so forth. It's kind of being that where one could say as a demigod, but it's more a being that goes through jealousy. And through the jealousy, they go through the act of engaging violence and so forth. So in a way, in that realms, even though the Dharma is available, but the presence of the jealousy is so strong that even though the presence of Dharma doesn't affect, for example, the young generation, most of the people doesn't get much inspired with Buddhist religious. They are not very much into religious, not because they don't want to, but it's more like there are many things. They have more desire, so that there are so many things that they can able to catch up with. And so even though in human realms, like we can see the resemble, even though the Buddha Dharma is quite alive, but there are many beings who have not much interest to do Dharma, not much have time to do receive teaching and so forth. So we can put it that as an example. So it doesn't mean that where there is a Dharma, everyone has to follow that. It's more like the realm and the place how the mental works. So in that way, so they are suffering on being killed is extreme. So in that way, normally demigods usually have war with the goddess, and when they try to start to kill the gods will not able to, how to say, killed by the demigods. And they go to, we only to kill a god is to cut on their head. But the demigods are more like a human, so the god can able to kill them easily because they are similar to human. Wherever they try to put weapon in their body, they start to bleed and so forth. The goddess doesn't have to go through that. It's more like the positive realms where they don't suffer much. So, so we could have gone through this demigod. So, well, it is important during our session to examine ourselves as being that kind of realm, so that how precious the Dharma is. And just because Dharma is available doesn't mean that people are available or open for the Dharma. So keeping in that mind, seeing oneself have a good opportunity to practice the Dharma with the right condition, with the, all the accessories and everything, with the Lama and everything. So we have the opportunity to get enlightened. So this is something that we have to keep as aim throughout whole mantra practice, or in general every practice. So now here we will continue with the human realm. The human realm here is the main key because we are human, and every suffering of human we can relate as well. So in a way, the suffering of human here, what is mentioned, we have to first see whether it is the real fact, yes or not, and then try to see how much uh, those things will affect if we engage with those things. So in here, we'll go to the text. For the suffering in the human realm, first the suffering of birth is like the chick carried off by a falcon. The suffering of aging is like the mother camel losing her calf. The suffering of illness is like criminal thrown in a dungeon. The suffering of dying is like captive dragged off by the executioner. So, mm, so this uh, four is general described as the four uh, suffering qualities as being human. And basically, first is birth, aging, uh, illness, and death. So these four stages of suffering indeed uh, will happen in the human realms. Aging is not sure because some human being pass away the moment of birth, so they have no time to get aged, but they go through the illness and death. So ill and death and birth, it's for sure. So it is said that the first example as the chick carried by a falcon, meaning like a big bird, when they try to hunt a small bird, first they will capture. When they capture the small bird, imagine how the small bird will feel. They will feel fear for sure, hopeless, and uh, under control. So the birth in olden days, now we have like a surgery for the baby, but anyway, the procedure where the baby, when they tries to take a birth, the baby itself will feel the same like the chick carried off by a falcon. Fear, discomfortness, and so forth. Because the physical of the baby is very sensitive, not like adult flesh. It's very sensitive. So that is why for a baby, we try to have the softest clothes to carry because the baby skin and their body is not used to rough and so forth. So the procedure when the baby comes out, it has so much pressure, captured by a big bird as well. So it is very strong kind of a process for the baby. So that is the birth. And then we have the suffering of aging. So it's basically aging. It's like a mother camel losing her calf. So as we believe camel within the animal, all the mother has, of course, tremendous kindness and compassion and loving towards their own child. But a camel mother has extreme of it. And when they started to lose their baby, rest of their life they feel loss. So in a way, like a loneliness and so forth. So during the aging process, we lose our best physical strength, energy, and so forth. It's more like a loss. And in a way, we go through our self journey as a loneliness. So that is the represent of that. Then the third, suffering of illnesses like criminal thrown in the dungeon. So, just example, the prisoner who is in the jail, who got prison through the government law by, let's say, killing a victim, an innocent person. So when they go through the prison in the jail, they will have first thing, they are like a capture inside the prison. And there is hard possible to escape from that. Even though you do escape, but you will remember you are uh, uh, being a criminal. So same as the disease, when you get ill, the disease is like a prison where you enter, and your whole body will become like a disease, like a jail. So even though you want to escape, it's very difficult with certain uh, bad illness. So it's like that kind of example. And the death, so the fourth, the suffering of dying is like kept dragged up by the executioner. So it's more like a deer being hunted. And let's say when a deer is aware that there is a human being try to kill, and he's sending his animal, let's say a hunting dog, after the deer. So deer will run as its best with the fear, and his mental will be not stable because sooner or later, when he start to lose his energy, the hunter will come and catch the deer and kill. So the fear of non-stop catching by someone is the representing the impermanence, the death. So this is the four. So here, each of these has 5 types of suffering. But since being born is accompanied by extreme pain, but is suffering. So which is something that we can relate, which is kind of I mentioned before. Since it plants the seed that produce and increase the afflictions, but is combined by negative tendency. We continue. Because old age, sickness, and death ensue from being born, birth is the basis of for suffering. Because the affliction gradually develops and their karma is accumulated. Birth is the basis for the afflictions. Because it is impermanent, being a single moment, but then without control is the suffering. So basically, it's more like same thing. So When we have in Buddhist we do in Mayan and Buddhist we have uh, the 12 connections. So we do believe that as a human birth, when the birth starts, not birth coming out from the mom's womb, but the moment you're formed as a human in the mom's womb, you are known to be in the race of human. So while you're being in the human realm, you already gain the seed of human, of thinking, positive and negative. And it means that you already have uh, the seed where you can able to create anger, jealousy, hatred, and as well as uh, when the body is formed, it already you already begin to have the cause to suffer because you have the physical form. And of course, since there is a birth, there is a death. So in a way, just having a birth, it already means that you're already seated uh, to have um, death and afflictions, negative tendency. You already have the cause for that. So it's like you already have the door gate open for that. So it's just kind of making us aware that is true. As a human being, just taking birth as a human, you have the, of course, it depends on the uh, cause and cause and condition. If one is like mentally disordered, physical disorder, then that is different case. Other than that, you have the power to gain negative things, positive things, and all those things. You already have the power of it. So the birth represents that. And then the second, aging is suffering due to the five factors. Mm. Fading of the complexion, uh, deterioration of form, loss of strength and ability, deterioration of the sense of faculties, loss of positions. So this is part of the aging. So that I think so we can relate to. I don't think I need to explain on that. And the most important part to see whether it's true or not while you are meditating or during the session, right? As these are the key point, whether it is true or not, whether one can able to go through this, yes or no, or have we have gone or not. And try to see whether that is a suffering or not. Then we go through the third, illness is suffering. Physical and mental discomfort increase, the body natural changes. There is no ability to enjoy pleasure things. One is forced to rely on unpleasant things. The loss of life approaches. So this is part of the five types of the illness. Mm. Mm. So, mm, physical and mental disorder increase. So this is part of the uh, illness, and the body naturally changes with the aging and with the illness, for sure. There is no ability to enjoy pleasant things, of course. When you're physically and mentally ill, then there's no enjoyment on those things. And one is forced to rely on unpleasant things, which is true. A good sounds. Mm. Uh, so here, mm, so one is forced to rely on unpleasant things. Of course, sure. When you're going through, let's say, pain, you have to take something which is good for your health, but not good for your taste, for everything. So in a way, so you have to go through many unpleasant things, the loss of life, of course. So those are the five quality types, and when so the fourth that is combined by loss of positions, loss of power, loss of friends and associate, loss of even one's body, intense feeling of mental discomfort. Mm, mm, yes, so mainly when we talk about loss, mainly it means separation during the death. And there is no benefit of having uh, possession, power, friends, and associates, even the one's own body after death. So that's for sure. And so in that way, one should understand that no matter how much we go through, accumulate, things are something they won't change, which are the five types of the death. Uh, so that we should be aware, uh, so that we have to know that something is temporary, cannot be continue after death. And those four are officially the four suffering of human realm. So then we continue furthermore. Though we discredit misdeeds, suffering, and slander, and undergo great difficulty to acquire food, wealth, reputation, and so forth, things do not turn out as we wish. This is the suffering of not getting what you seek. So from here, we have several different types of suffering of human. The one is the suffering of not getting what you seek. And so the second is the suffering of not keeping what you have. And the suffering of being separated from what is dear. Um, and the suffering of encountering what we do not want. So those are uh, again a key point. So we will go through this. Mm, So as we go through in life, uh, very hardship in order to gain wealth, fame, uh, and so forth, as the worldly life, business, or any kind of work. And there is a chance that things are not going accordingly what we plan. So that is a big kind of a problematic in a human life when they are going to such big uh, responsible. So in that way, when it doesn't kind of go through one's uh, wish or according to one's plan, then it ends up wasting your whole energy and all your precious time and effort and so forth. And this is something that very common to have in a human life. And time to time we have to go through this. And but what we should understand that this is part of suffering as being human. So when you do the session of meditation of force of samsara, especially when it comes to human realm, try to see this suffering as part of human realm. And then the second is we fear the arrival of enemies and thieves. We that those more powerful will take our position, wearing the stars as head and the first footboots, because also ourselves with too many activities and work. So here is something that the suffering of mm, uh, the suffering of uh, is more like uh, suffering of something that you have but not able to enjoy it. Mm. Uh, so in here they say mm, it's more like we have to see it, even though one has job, wealth, fame, uh, whatever the things you have as enough. But even though you have those, uh, uh, there's a wealth, fame, whatsoever, but as a human, we have the fear, even though the joy will not able to be filled joy of having a fear of someone might gonna steal our wealth, and people might gonna take my possession or job. Fear from our boss, fear from our senior, fear from our friends who is not very much true, and so forth like that. So in a way, uh, uh, we have these phrases start as a head, which means even though as a human we sleep during the night time, we work during daytime. In the modern day, it's opposite sometimes. But anyway, people work even though it's night time to sleep for fame, for wealth, for for a purpose what they want to do. And even though the time where they don't have to work, they start to work so much kind of they put effort, energy, and they try to receive those results of fame and wealth and so forth, but still not able to satisfy and feel comfort because of having too much fear of competition or something related with anything that fear of losing it. So this is something that a suffering where there's no permanent joy without any discomfortness. So this is the sixth. And then we have the seventh, suffering or being separated from what is dear. We worry about being separated from people from whom we cannot bear to be parted, such as parents, siblings, associated, or students. We fear losing power and position. We worry about losing our value, making mistakes, being stunted by the inner and so forth. This is the suffering of being separated from what is dear. So as for sure, time to time with the wealth, we start to get separate from the family, having a two-side of family apart. And with the wealth and fame, sometimes there is being such as being enemy within the master and student, which is very kind in the very beginning. And time to time, when we come to a point where we are weak from being wealthy and from being having power. And in a way, we start to lose so in a way, we get many criticized from the social society. And from that, it creates more kind of fear and discomfortness. So those are known to be being separated from people whom we cannot bear. And so these are very good kind of points where we should meditate on time to time. When I say meditate, it doesn't have to be single mind pointed meditation, but it's more like contemplating on that and reciting those phrases again and again. And then I think it's the eighth. There is the suffering of incurring what we do not want, illness, enemies, lawsuit, punishment by the government, murderers, being gossip and slander, harmed, return for help, treasures, and so forth. So this is something that when we approach something that which is discomfortness, known as a suffering. So when we come to such as go through illness, when we approach illness, which actually means, so when we go through punishment from the law of government by acting eagerly to the law, or and so forth. And time to time, when we come to a situation, even the dear ones becomes enemy. The one you help and the one you care the most, they repaying us one as being ungrateful. And those are the circumstances which will and is happening in the human realms, so that those are the possibilities of the humans suffering. So till here we have gone through the eight, the main are the four. The later four are also something that is possibility. So it is so those four till here, the force of samsara ends, and from here onwards, it's more like self-aware advice. So we continue. In brief, there is the suffering of suffering, illness, slander, and so forth in the three lower realms, and among God and humans, the suffering of change, temporary pleasures such as life, position, calm, bathing, and so forth that seems to be pleasurable yet are fleetingly transient, and the this is suffering of formation, the five grades of the grasping that are the basis of container for the other two suffering. So till here, they mention three suffering, which is the definition of the truth of suffering. I think all the Buddhists are very well known. The first teaching of the Buddha is the Four Noble Truth. And so within the Four Noble Truth, there's a truth of suffering which he have taught. So when he talk about truth of suffering, he made it in a part of three, so which is here. So it means that all the six realms are part of the three sufferings. All the suffering of the three realms arise because of the five grade. So know where you might be born in samsara. I, O Lord, understand the nature of the three suffering. So this mainly describes the three suffering. Mm, mm, mm. Therefore, even whatever seems to be temporary happiness or prosperity, your home, body, possession, friends, and associated is only suffering welling up. Thus, it should revolve you deeply like the food offered to enhance presence or the feast an executioner gives a prisoner condemned to die. Cut your ties from their roots, destroy desire from its foundation. You must contemplate how extremely valuable the benefits of liberation. The opposite of those defects are devoted yourself to the mean of for attaining enlightenment. So, uh, apology if I'm reading wrong. For me, English is very tough. I have no actually English teacher in my youth. So for me, uh, reading English is giving examination. So, so we will continue. So till here, uh, so it's important for a practitioner to go through those mind training. And because one uh, haven't trained their mind and try to adapt any kind of, let's say, practice or ritual, it becomes part of that mentality. Let's say the practice is a form, let's say like a house. The foundation is your mind. If one plans the foundation of spiritual path with some psych or one could say worldly kind of uh, intention uh, and building up, let's say, practice and doing rituals or any kind of practice we do, even though the appearance from outside might look like a similar to being practitioner, but in the end, it ends up as your true intention. So that uh, the practice itself, whether it's physical, by generous, or keeping discipline, uh, let's say having patience and diligence and so forth. But if the mind, the foundation is not positive or pure, then everything ends up badly. So it is very important that we should have a basic foundation built up with the right motivation and intention. So this is why we have gone through the four mind training. So that is very important as a beginner. So then we continue. So here is more like advice. Generally, these four ordinary preliminaries are found in all the graduate instruction, but this is the previous compo supplement to Atisha's stage of the path of the three types of individuals. So it's known as the Kyosum Jilamrin. So I think I mentioned this in the very beginning of the yesterday of the three individuals, the three types of individuals. So, so the mind training of the Ngondro is mainly comes from the Atisha, emerging the stream of the Kadamba and Mahamudra into one. So during the Kambopa, he uh, added the Mahamudra of Milarepa, the Tantric enlightened doctrine, together with the mind training of Atisha. So since then, in Kamakaju, um, individually, generally in Kaju, the mind training is very important. We in Kaju order, for those who wants to engage with the Vajrayana tantric practices, they are they need to they are always advised to begin with the mind training. So in that way, so this is the reason where we get the influence of having mind training. It's not like Vajrayana doesn't have mind training at all. It has, since the Buddhism teaching itself is mind training. But the logical point of view related with the sutra is more with the Atisha lineage. So in that way, while we are practicing Hondo, is also nice if we can able to practice the 37 practice of Bodhisattva uh, or the 7 point of mind training and so forth related with the mind training. So that is okay, but mainly mind training towards renouncing the worldly life. Mm. Mm. If you do not apply some fortitude to these four, then all your meditation on the main practice will only serve to reinforce the eight worldly concerns, so that oneness mind is not set up with the pure intention, it ends up, the practice will ends up to the samsari practice. As we continue, the root of all dharma is giving up on this life. But so uh, uh, actually, this is the very important quote that we have to remember. The root of all dharma is giving up on this life. So this doesn't apply to only monastic sangha, monk or nuns, but it applies to all individual practitioners. What does it mean as giving up on this life? So it means that one should accept of this life having changes, suffering, and there is no perfection, permanent, as stable. So this is something that we should be aware. All practitioners should be aware of it. And giving up in the sense that so we have to have the setup of our energy not to depend ourselves for the worldly life. When we say giving up on this life, it refers to worldly life. Don't depend yourself on the worldly, temporary things. As a living being, you have to continue your life till death. So you have to rely on accessories as job. It doesn't mean that you have to live like rest of your life at the forest to meditate, and it's not like that. But it's more like one should not depend your own life on the worldly life. Don't waste it. Focus on the true fact, which is more stable and more lasting, which is known to be wisdom, knowledge, education. So those are something that gain your understanding, and that will create your mind more wiser. So those are the things that we have to focus on. And then if we continue, but these days no Dharma practitioner serve the ties to this life. We do not turn our mind away from desire. We have no abandoned attachment to relatives, friends, associates, and servants. We have not relinquished even the slightest desire for food, clothing, and reputation. Those our spiritual practice is not uh, effective, and our beings are contrary to the Dharma. So we continue. We do not consider whether the affliction have diminished or not since we started practicing Dharma, but count the months and years we have practiced instead. Rather than examining our own faults, we examine the faults of others. We become consistent about even the smallest quality. Our minds falls under the sway of personal gain, respect, and distractions. There are many pointless conversations and things to do. We think we have indicated the Dharma we practice with the world, but do not accomplish a single one of our aims. The reason is that we have not remembered impermanence, so we have become uh, complacent. So I think this is more self-advised, self-aware. So I will not explain this more. We'll continue. The victorious Trigung Pa, which is known to be Chopa Jigten Sumka, said the preliminaries are even more profound than the main practice. So when it says preliminary practice, mainly refers to the mind training. Those it would seem far better to develop those four preliminaries in our beings, even the slightest bit, than say we have completed the approach and accomplishment of the four class of Tantra. So the four class of Tantra in Vajrayana, we do have four different class or schools of different yogas, and that refers to that. And all of the Vajrayana practice starts with the creation state and completion state. So for that, it's important to have a very positive, pure foundation to start with the creation state. So for that, the pure intention, the positive intention should be there. So for that, mind training is very very necessary. Practicing Dharma while letting our mind remain ordinary only fools ourselves and others and waste this human life. In short, if you do not give rise to some degrees of renunciation, all your meditation will amount to no more than a pile of manna on mountainside. So reflect on the suffering of samsara and the uncertainty of the time of death, and focus on the meditation. Meditate as much as you can. So this is the way how we should see our intention. So it should be more towards related with the renunciation. So renunciation is not like giving up physically, but all the great master that even though the yogi and let's say those they are not monk, but they are a family householder. But even though they have family or ordinary lifestyle as human being, but their mental is have renunciation, which means that they are already aware that samsara is temporary, and the liberation is something that one should rely on. If a person has promise, dedication to oneself, promising that from today onwards, I will live a spiritual life, even though I go through physically work, job, carrying out the like keeping up the family and so forth. But I will dedicate myself to have salvation spiritually. So if one have this kind of mindset and really kind of not letting yourself dependent on the materialistic life, so that is known as renunciation. There is no better than renunciation than that. So the monk are putting and making a change environment, but one already set up, then it is the same like living as a spiritual monk or nun, what kind of life we live. But even though when you go to a forest to meditate, but when you're not renounced from your mind, so even though you become a monastic lifehood, you're not really a monk, not a spiritual person. So basically, most important part, the mindset. Whether renunciation, where does it come from? It comes from the mindset. So the basic thing, the mindset should be there. Then the next step will be appearance. So in that way, that is very important. So we continue. It is said that when you begin to practice the Dharma, the Maras create obstacles and your faith in diminish. Things of being possessed by the Maras includes perceiving faults in your spiritual friends and Guru, perceiving faults in Dharma practitioners in general, associating with the ordinary friends, losing diligence in your practice, indulging in sensory pleasures, and having no devotion to the three jewels. Thus, you should contemplate the qualities of the Guru and the three jewels and develop your perception of other Dharma practitioners. Seeing another person as bad is a sign of your own impure karma. Remember that analogy of seeing your grimy face in mirror. Do not keep company with the ordinary people. Do not heed their words. Reflect on the defects of sensory pleasure. So it is important as a life, you have to, as a human, we are always accompanied by someone. Since birth, we have company from our mother. And when we go through ages, we go through our friends, relatives, and when we go through the age of adulthood, we go through job, when we have friends from the job, work friend, and so forth. So when people get settled with a partner, so they have like someone. So your life is somehow connected with somebody, but it is important to have good energy from the friends you are surrounded. So it is said that in the 37th practice of Bodhisattva that it is important to keep on with the friends who give you virtue, make you more positive physically, mentally. And those who brings negative negative connections and discomfort, those are not a good company. And so in that way, it is important. So we continue. In general, without faith, no positive qualities at all will arise. So faith must precede all Dharma practice. There are many types of faith, but conviction and heartfelt dedication encompass them all. The conditions that produce faith are the vicissitudes of the transmigration of birth and death, illness, storms, and adverse conditions, as well as reading the biography of great master of the past and the stories of the Buddha previous lives. You should engender faith by the reflecting on this each and every day. We continue. Some people seem to have extremely strong faith when they are with the Guru, but forget it when apart. Some have faith when they encounter adversity, but lose it later. Some have strong faith when they receive the Dharma or material things they wanted, or when they are overcome by illness, downs, and so forth. But like it afterwards, lacking firm, heartfelt faith for a single root guru, a single profound teaching, they set aside one and take up the next they become infatuated with, reject such behavior, and with stable, immeasurable faith, do not turn your attention outside, and please do some practice intentionally instead. Then when each small quality of Dharma dawns in your being, you will understand the profound of this special instruction. This produce certainty in your Dharma, in the Dharma. At this point, you will remember the kindness of Guru and devotion will naturally develop. Through this, all the qualities of the path will effortlessly, spontaneously arise. So, mm, so till here, we have go through all the falls of samsara, and so the more important part to focus is the earlier one, which we have the key points. So the later one is self kind of advice to be aware. So till here, I don't think I need to explain furthermore on those things. This is more something like a note to remember. And so the key point is the one is mentioned above with the suffering of hell. And those are the key points where we should, during the session, we have to mind train ourselves on that again and again and again. So it is important that while we are doing the mind training, of course, it is okay to receive many teachings as well. For example, when you are in the retreat doing such mind training, but you are already in isolated. So in a way, there is no possible to receive teaching when you are in retreat. But while, let's say, in the situation where you are not in retreat, when you're doing mind training in a very places, and of course there's lots of distraction during the time when you do, especially contemplating things. And it is important that when you receive such a teaching of mind training from the master, as well as based on the book or commentary, and you have to continue to gain more renunciation attitude. That is the basic things. And instead of doing those practices, let's say you're doing a retreat, let's say whether it is retreat or any type of wonderful mind training, but in the same time doing lots of other stuff, but receiving lots of different teachings. In a way, that doesn't very much help to renounce your mind. So that kind of teaching might become obstacles for you. So it is important to maintain one practice. It's okay to receive teachings, but the mind training which you are aimed for, you have to continue until you once have the feeling of renunciation or discomfort for the samsara. Till then, we have to train our mind in many ways. So it is not important to, how to say, to, let's say, to other practices while you're doing, let's say, Ngondro practice. So Ngondro is the very basic teaching. You have to dedicate yourself on that. If you can able to manage doing above that, that is wonderful. But one cannot able to maintain one motivation on the Ngondro, especially towards the mind training. And no matter how much you receive teaching or practices, that will be similar how it's mentioned here, like collecting many kind of things which will make more complicated on the practice. So it is important to continue with mind training till you feel the defects of samsara in your being. So that is very important. So no matter how much, if we don't have this, if we cling to the samsara, if we cling to the worldly life, no matter how much we receive the teaching, it is more, although there is a blessing, but it's more like doesn't help in your being. So in that way, we have to remember this. We have to know what kind of practice teaching supposed to mind training. So if relates and supposed you to gain more compassion, more renunciation. So that is something that very much helpful and suitable for a mind training of want. And so here we complete the four common practice. The next weekend we will start with the one row of uncommon practice, starting with the refuge. And we will stop here.
Gong